Hello everybody, and welcome to the final language that we've learned in this survey class. The language is Racket, and it was made by Matthias Fellison in the 1990s. It was renamed as Racket in 2010. We have some information on download and official reference site. This is the reference site. It's pretty good. Looks like Firefox is having some malfunctions with the others. Okay, take a look at the direct download site. Pardon miscellaneous file explorer opening. Here's where to download Racket. You also have a Racket reference, and we also have a little bit of philosophy. Okay, and one of the things about Racket is most scripting language unabashedly use other languages as necessary to get things done. Racket the idea is it's supposed to be self-contained. Racket descends from Lisp, which is the Lisp processing languages, and that will be the main feature of this language we will highlight. So, let's get started. Okay, the programming age, you have an IDE, you have Dr. Racket. I'm using Visual Studio Code with some add-ons. There's no processing directives. Error handling is you got an exception handler within the code. Interpreter means available. You have a Racket REPL, you have it down here. Getting started, your comments, your single line is a semicolon rather than a pound sign. Multi-line, it's pound pipe and pipe pound. And I actually think I've got those backward. Well, if you look at it, you got the close of the pipe pound here. Okay, for output, now what I've done for the purpose of this demonstration is I went ahead and uncommented some of the code, and what I will do is I will just run it, and then we'll talk about the output. Okay, it's asking for my name. I'll be informal with it because I tried my last name and it had a punctuation and it didn't like it. Okay, let's go back and see what we learned, what we just did. Okay, going all the way to the top and sliding all the way to the top here. Okay, display in LN means to display with a line return. We'll talk about why that's important. Okay, and here I'm trying to tell you the direct approach if you want to just display something is just type it out. Next thing I'm telling you is don't forget the parentheses, because then you get this little procedure print thing, and then it does when it goes ahead and does it anyway, but you got some extra stuff you have to worry about if you do that. Okay, sliding down. If you could either print, write, or display, and they mean slightly different things. Now, if you notice, if you do those one after the other, they print them one after the other. You notice the display doesn't have the quotation marks around it. If you want them to print out with a line feed, which is most of the time the way we want to do it, you have to use print ln, write in, and display. Notice I'm display write ln, display ln, and that's for line return. Okay, here's my little section on declaring variables. There's my resource. And what happens is Racket's big on definition. You define a variable, and you define it by assigning the variable. Notice here I said I defined V University as CSU, then I just put it on the line. Well, that's what printed this out. Now, as I said before, Racket is descended from a Lisp, so it has some Lisp processor. Here's one of the things that's kind of neat. You have these values where you have the values and you have assigned the values to them. And so, like, you got X is 1, Y is 2, and Z is 3. So it says Z value is, and it said when you display the value, it says it's 3. There's some instances where that can be nice. Okay. This is how to input information to the console. And I tried to be formal and say Mr. O'Neill earlier, and Mr. O'Neill was 2 words and they got upset about it. I guess it's got to be really informal. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll go back up here. And hopefully this will comment this out. See, it's already helpful and it's already added me those. I don't want those. I've already put it down here. Nice thing about having a nice IDE. Okay, we'll talk about a little Boolean algebra now. Slide down to where I find it. Yep. Just above quotes. And we'll run and we'll explain. And I didn't save it, so it did exactly what I told it to. Okay, let's go back up here. I will save it, then I will run it and explain it. Okay, now I'll do the electric slide back up to where we're at. Okay. Okay, and it says in pound T or hash mark T is the Racket true Boolean, and hash mark F is the false Boolean. And what I did here was said, this is saying, is this a Boolean? Yes, it is. Is this a Boolean? Yes, it is. It happens to be false, but it's still true that it's a Boolean. Okay, and we'll do a little Boolean algebra here. Okay, and the way you read is does this expression here equal 2? And it's 1 plus 1 equals 2, and it does, so it says it's true. Okay, so we said hash mark F is a Boolean is no a Boolean. No, it's a text string, so it says false. Okay, and here I use an immediate if to say if no one other than otherwise 0, and it gives 1, so that way you can sort. Now, unfortunately, that would be true, so you probably need to switch those around. Okay, some logical operations. Okay, you have and 1 plus 1 does equal 2. 1 plus 2 does not equal 2, so I expect the and, which is the logical and of both of those, to be false, and it is. Okay, and then I have a logical or, and it is logically does this equal this or does this equal it? It should be, logically that should be equal true. Okay, there I am. I lost my little place there. There we go. Yep, there's the first one's false, second one's true. Okay, then you have the ternary operator, which is the immediate if. You know, you have an if then else that you want to put into one line. And it asks whether this is positive. And I imagine if you asked if it's sure, it would say it was positive. Okay, 1 is positive, minus 1 is negative, is not positive, and it's got that printed out there. It's kind of an inline if you want to print out alternate text. Okay, opposite ratios that depend on the Boolean value typically treat anything other than hash mark f as true. You have some really odd results when you say and Fred 12. And it says 12, you say or Fred 12, it's 12. And you got the same thing with true and false. The takeaway on this one is be careful not to mix non-Boolean and Boolean together. Okay. I didn't know it was adding those extra symbols at first, and I was starting to get a lot of errors, and it was like, well, the errors is because the computer's trying to think for me. Let's see, let me take this off, and I believe we're about ready for a break.